Alright, bit of a delay on getting this next one done since I had a couple of builds uploaded on Exhibition that I forgot if I had actually made videos about it or not. Turns out I did, I just forgot to add them to the Crossout All playlist that I have on my channel, so they weren't showing up there. Interesting in general, because that is now up to almost 30 videos with the conclusion of the 2 videos I'm doing right now, which isn't exactly a wieldy sized playlist, which in general raises the question of if I should be somehow better organizing videos on my channel. I don't know the answer to that, so I will just not consider and answer that on stream, and just have a think or two about that over the next few days. But in any case, the title of the thing, shamelessly stolen from one of my friends. I'm going to actually look it up and see if anybody has used the term Ghostilocks before. Well, there is a user on Twitter and Reddit, and there's this video, and then there's a Twitch deck, some updates on stuff, and then some images, some drawings from the person who I guess uses the handle Ghostilocks. So I guess it's used before, but that's fine. I was wondering if there was going to be a lot more NSFW than it was, but it's not, so that's good. But in any case, shamelessly stolen from one of my friends in middle school to offhandedly refer to the game Call of Duty Ghosts at the time. But in any case, the Stillwind was a very interesting autocannon when it released in the prior season, because it is of a similar size and shape of the Whirlwind, without really going the route that me and I think others were hoping for. With autocannons, we have had 2, technically kind of 3 autocannons kind of diverge thus far from the main route, which is just no perk and then further away more damage, further away more damage and increased, and this is the successor to that, and yet it doesn't care about distance at all, despite the stats obviously showing that it's a similar / slightly greater range and accuracy. But in any case, its perk is focused around invisibility, which is kind of weird to have on a sniper build in general, in my opinion. Not to say that it's wrong to do so, but it kind of just goes the same route, I think, as the Jewel, which is focused on movement speed, the Whirl, which is focused on being CQC, and the Cyclone, which is focused on extended firing time, where it doesn't really explicitly lend itself to sniping, which is kind of what autocannons I thought were supposed to be for. Now that being said, we have 6 autocannons with perks now, and 4 of them are not about sniping at all. So you could argue at this point that maybe the autocannons weren't meant to be made as sniping weapons. Yeah. Not a whole lot much more to say there. In any case, became interested in them because it's for some intents and purposes, upgraded Whirlwind. Most specifically, I was interested because its shape and silhouette is almost exactly that of the Whirlwind, if it fit on other builds. So, for instance, I have the Slide Spider here, which I made a while ago, or at least this is a variant of this, which is a variant of one that I made a long time ago, but basically just has the 2 Whirlwinds side by side, because very interestingly enough, of course you could learn more about it in the other video where I actually went over rebuilding this, but you can basically cover most of the weapon in armor. Only the top part needs to be exposed in order for them to have full aiming and movement. So I was wondering if you could sort of do the same thing with the Stillwind duplicate. So for the sake of actually demonstrating that, I suppose I better make a slot. Well, I don't have any at the moment. Okay, well, I'll just get rid of that one since it's uploaded now. I was stroking my own ego by increasing the downloads on my other builds. Wow, and I literally just said I was going to delete that, and then I clicked on the download one. Oops. Not you. Thank you. I wish I had 3 pages worth. Ew, excellent. Even E is fine, I guess. So, as you could see, while previewing it, it basically had full range of fire, other than obviously the meshes blocking each other. And then obviously just the scope at the back, which the rift is for, and then the very corners of the build due to their distance and how spheres work for line of sight. But in any case, you can see there weren't really any restrictions with them getting in the way of each other. That is very much not the case with the Stillwinds. So it is still very interesting to me because you can fit them in there, which really surprised me because they clip extremely heavily. It does not fit well at all. But not only can you do that, but you can actually slap both of them in there. That being said, they have absolutely no actual like turning range whatsoever. Even if I do that, it is like disgustingly cut out. You could have a single one in there and it's a teensy bit better, but overall they are severely hindered by the armor around it. So if you did want to use the same sort of building, you know, schema there, you're probably better off like raising them one or so they actually have their full rotation again. And actually I didn't try it before, so I am going to see how viable that is with them both in there. I presume there's a lot of, yeah, preventing them from rotating again. So you could have one. If you don't mind the heavy clipping or how tall it is. Yeah, so I don't know if I was probably the only one who actually had that question on if that was a thing you could do or not, potentially, since I'm also, I think, the only one who I've seen run embedded whirlwinds completely encapsulated like that. But you can, yes, kind of do it with the Stillwinds, but not very well. So in any case, that takes us to this, which is such a bastardized build. Yeah, it's rough. What can I say? So to start with, the premise is taking the Stillwind, which is invisibility not being canceled by shooting for a couple of seconds, and applying it to one of the only 2 cabins that benefit invisibility. So the Ghost being on top of recently rebalancing its perk, and so far as I think it's like double the bonus now, 2.5% per second when it was 1.5% before. And then I believe they also kept the bonus for 5 seconds is like that hasn't been changed. But they're also planning on redoing the mesh of the Ghost, which is great because it's currently disgusting and does not function how you want it to at all, which I think is well demonstrated with this, and me not even being able to fit like low clearance wheels under that front lip, which again I made another video on. It's just, the Ghost cabin is not like having stuff in front of it, and we don't really like having exposed Ghost cabins, or exposed cabins in general. So in any case, this build is my attempt at combining the 2 of them, so having the cabin being invisible, or rather using invisibility, boosting the damage of the weapon via the cabin, and then having a period of time where you are cloaked and dealing damage with a damage boost on top of having a period of time after being cloaked, being cloaked, dealing damage while cloaked, having that damage boosted and keeping that damage boost for a couple of seconds, well literally 5 in this case, after uncloaking. So, and I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to mute myself real quick. Right, and this is kind of the build I came up with, which again, I'm not going to say is good at all, but without breaking down each and everything of it really like in depth first, I'm just going to give you a quick example. So in this case, it's using the Chameleon Mk2, just due to lack of space for the Chameleon Mk2 in this specific example again. But in any case, you're driving around using the Cheetah engine and the Bigfoot wheels to boost your recovery speed of modules. You're able to go invisible. Then while invisible for the last couple seconds, be able to deal damage. Then at the end of that, of course, continue dealing damage. Then the gist is pretty soon after, if not at the same time, that you run out of overheat on this build. Then as long as you are keeping yourself at high movement while zooming around, being able to go back stealth while your weapons are cooling off, and then of course once they're completely cooled off, being able to fire again against repeat. So that's the premise of the build. That's the reason why the modules I picked are the ones that I have picked. Kind of works logically, it makes sense. Now that being said, the execution is kind of whack, is suboptimal from a building efficacy standpoint, I think. In any case, there's a lot to unpack with the build, like the fact that I'm only using 3 wheels, the fact that the guns are basically just only just attached to frames in front of the cabin and to the side, that the cabin is almost entirely exposed, that some of the back modules are exposed, that I'm using wheels and the fast as fuck boy engine with a cabin that only goes 80 kph, and that I'm not even close to getting the mass limit on it. So like I said, there's a lot to it. Again, this is my attempt at executing a build that is using, once again, the Ghost cabin, the Cheetah engine with the Bigfoot wheels to boost the reload speed of a Chameleon, and then using the Stillwind weapons. And the Stillwind weapons, if you couldn't tell from the prior build I showed with, are kind of really poor. I don't want to say poorly shaped. They're really wacky to use. So if I wanted to actually equip them on the Ghost cabin, attached to the Ghost cabin, your only option is putting them sideways. And I don't really care to do that because of how far they stick out. They are as tall as the cabin almost, and then would be sticking out. So I'd be basically having this enormous double wide build, which is super flat and super wide, and then trying to armor that, and then trying to have it be viable and shooting in multiple directions rather than just directly in front of it. I can't really attach multiple to the top. If I did want to attach multiple to the top, then I'd have to have them front and back. For instance, not that I'd literally attach them to the engine, but for instance, how the Cheetah is, which not only is ridiculously tall, but then becomes a pain in the ass to armor, and then you're trying to, attack things as you're doing a drive-by in order to get both weapons firing at them at the same time, or pull other shenanigans. There's just really not a whole lot of good options if I even moved these back and just still had them vertically. So for instance, if I had them where the wheels are, then they are significantly blocked by the cabin from rotating. They aren't able to see over the nose unless I elevate them like they currently are, which once again makes the build a lot larger. And then the cabin is completely exposed and taking damage because, again, it is a very, very unfortunate shape insofar as being extremely hard to armor around effectively, especially if you want to do a halfway aesthetic, halfway decent aesthetic armoring. It's just rough. But I'm able to, based off the prior experience with the Mk2 MF24, I'm able to take the build, use the Ghost cabin as exposed on the front of it. I'm able to use armoring around the majority of the sides of the Stillwind, as in the other build, and I'm able to combine the two in a way that has the modules somewhat protected behind the cabin, have some more modules protected behind the weapons, and then not require additional redundant wheels. In this case, I'm using 3 steering wheels, and it's almost at the max mass bar there. You see, I don't really need any more tonnage. I wouldn't need to replace any of these with non-steering wheels. I don't even need a fourth steering wheel. So yeah, this is just kind of the conclusion that comes out of it. And I'm not going to say it's exactly terribly good or good looking. I haven't really tried it in PvP, and I definitely haven't tried it in PvE. Because I don't have high hopes, but in any case, as a sub 9,000 power score build, I think it works I expect it would work kind of okay. I mean, you do have the, a decent amount of durability for the power score that it's at, and you do have, legendary weapons and cloaking, and a perk that complements all that. So I guess what I could do is I could take it into raids and probably cry horribly because I don't think it's going to hold up in hard raids at all. But at least in the easy, maybe the medium raid, and just give it a go. There's not a whole lot to it. Like, obviously it could be improved by using a Chameleon Mk2, by adding more armor and more mass to it, although I'm already kind of like at the point where I'm done as far as like the size is concerned. You know, add a generator currently, it's just, or a bigger generator currently, it's just using the P1 charge. Got a whole bunch of options for actually improving it from like a theoretical perspective, but as for like actually ones that I want to, or that I think would be valuable, or I think would, you know, not completely require a different design of the build, kind of at the limit here, I think. And of course part of that is due to not only the odd shape of the ghost, but the placement of the guns. So right now it works pretty well because you can see in most directions with them, other than of course the blocked direction of the other gun, or if the cabin's in the way. But otherwise you have this, what, almost like 160, or sorry, that's way more than 160 degrees, like 260 degrees of freedom with them for looking around. Now, as a result of trying to maintain that height all throughout the build, that's also why you get this kind of weird janky armor around the back wheels, just as a result of trying to armor them without increasing height. So I do have the option, of course, of getting rid of these, using fenders, but my options are either use high durability ones that stick out and would block you from theoretically firing behind, although realistically for the added, you know, durability it might be worthwhile. I could use fenders that kind of fit for shape and aesthetic. But oh, wouldn't you know, because these specific fenders only attach on the outside, they don't actually fit here. I could run fenders that do fit but are stupidly low durability. And then also have that rising issue as you get further out. Or I could just do this god-awful kind of fill the gap with whatever you have and fits schema. And yeah, I went that route. Oops. Because it kind of seems to be the best option I have, to say the least. It's, again, not even to say it's necessarily good, but yeah, I don't even know what you do to improve on this. Not to say that it's perfect by any means, but just that there isn't, again, a whole lot of flexibility with it, without drastically decreasing the firing angles of the guns or increasing the bulk of it and the size of it, and making it a bigger target and more cumbersome to use anyway. So I will slap some record on this, and we can try out some raids, presuming there's actually even other people up right now. If there are, that they're probably willing to clutch the fuck up on hard raids. But in any case, slap on some of these. Oh, but interesting note, the Feathered Serpent used to be in the same category as flares, which is to say they were flares. With the addition of the Cash Dispenser, which is the first actual activatable decoration that we've come across, or that at least I have. It's the first one I noticed it on, and I do a pretty good job in my eyes of going through and seeing all the new stuff added to the game. The Feathered Serpent was also added there. So it kind of works out logically, because the Feathered Serpent was, to be quite frank, a very shitty flare anyway. Like, it's not exactly a whole lot of particles. But in any case, as a result of that, the fact that you can have 2 flares and 2 activatable decorations on it, you can have of each, which means lots of particles if you are so inclined to do that. That one's again, the Feathered Serpent kind of sucks as an actual flare, so do what you will with that information. In any case, I'm going to just slap them on the build because it's fun and be It's easy. Who knows, maybe I'll even intimidate the bots. They will be convinced not to kill me. Also, interestingly, this is probably the first build, like, ever, where the rear door, or I guess not ever, but the first door I made since, like, first build I made since, like, getting my first blue item, where the minivan door actually fits. In a prior version of this, I considered putting one there, just for, like, a parts limit consideration, because it was, and still is, very close on the parts limit. But this is kind of the only other time where I've really wanted a 6x6 with the taper on it. And like, again, like I said, it actually fits here really, really well, but it's like the only scenario I've come across. I also forgot I have this blank area under here. Somewhat unfortunate, because like, I know a piece which fits here perfectly. There's these guys. Oops. But I mean, it's not exactly symmetrical because it's a single piece, so, you know. Hard to convince myself to do that, I guess. But it's fine for the sake of us just slapping this thing in some raids. Let's see, we got flares, we got activate with the core, so we're gonna slap a hologram or two on. Let's see, what does invisibility screen for holograms? Well, it's probably useful to let our teammates know where we are, since we are going to be invisible a lot by design. So how about we slap on some wing beats as a buffer room sort of thing. Say, hey, we're here, please do not run into us. Doesn't even fit there. What about you? Beautiful. Now it'll be hard for our teammates to miss us. Excellent. We're at 25% core bonus. Beautiful. Save that. Try. And pretend we're useful. Well, hey, depending on how fast we get through this, we can actually try it out in plastic frontier defense, which is probably, you know what, let's do that first. It's probably a bit easier to find a group for in any case, and is also a more challenging test, probably one that's going to be more matched with the abilities of this build, because I feel like in easy raids a lot of the time it can just kind of show up and win, especially when you're running epic and legendary weapons. They don't actually really need to be in the game, so. You know, another thought I had is you could theoretically make an adaptation of this, where you kind of have them be, like, obviously not actual miniguns, but, like, the nose gun of, like, a helicopter, although it would, like, again, it's, like, almost as tall as the cabin, so it'd be sticking out severely at the bottom, or, like, putting it on, like, the wings and sort of be, like, wing autocannons. That could kind of work, although, obviously, this build is, like, already performing suboptimally from a functional aesthetic. Or from a functional viewpoint, like, I mean, it's meant to just be an aesthetic build through and through that happens to have some functionality sprinkled in in order to enhance the experience of flying around with it. But, yeah, I mean, just replacing these wings with Whirlwind wouldn't exactly make a viable build. And to my shock, nobody's online at after midnight PST. Trying to play normal raids in Crossout on Xbox. only a hyper niche audience that we are trying to connect with here. I'll give it another couple of minutes. And if that doesn't work, then I can just try it. Oh, there you go. A couple more seconds is all needed. And then I'm pretty much guaranteed. There's almost always somebody doing easy raids. It's ridiculous. It's hard to not find somebody to do easy raids with. So it should be less of a problem. Alright, team, carry me to success. Double Cyclone on a Goliath. Alright, love him. The obvious question, I think, with using a build with weapons which, like I said, are kind of designed to be snipery in my eyes, or at least the line of weapons is supposed to be, and a build that is very heavily reliant on being mobile in order to charge invisibility, isn't that somewhat counterproductive to have a sniping build required to be hypermobile in order to be effective at getting a damage boost? To which the answer is, and I borrow directly from the modern cinematic masterpiece, Phineas and Ferb, to answer, yes it is. But again, I'm not too worried about the PvP viability being terribly competitive with this so much as just like taking the premise of like, hey, the Ghost and the Stillwinds synergize and just trying to crank that to, you know, the reasonable max. Likewise, if you want to talk about like the actual maximum effectiveness, probably just slap on a follow and, you know, another Stillwind. Kind of call it a day. But not only do I not ever think I'll be in a situation where I want to use 3 Stillwinds anyway, but it's kind of a for fun thing, mostly. I mean, I don't even know where I'd put a 3rd Stillwind if I had one. Like, options are already extremely limited with replacements, as I said at the start of the video. It doesn't get any better, I'm sure, by trying to slap a 3rd one. Like, the logical place would be in between the first 2, but that's where the wheel is. You could slap one on the roof, although that would look horrible and enlarge the footprint. Although, again, if all we're doing with it is PvE, does it really matter? Or, again, recreate the entire build, which isn't exactly my idea of a good time, so. It's also kind of counterproductive, a bit of a oxymoron of a build, insofar as invisibility a lot of times is used for escape. And it's kind of hard to do that if you're actively using it to boost your damage. Now that being said, it's, in this case, working basically as an engagement mechanism, where you use it to creep up on some people and start blasting. It works in that regard. I mean, it works the same way for shotgunners and melee users. And I definitely whiff that by continuing to fire while invisible. But I've been waiting for the full damage boost. And that would be the other option for using this, is the beholder cabin, which on taking damage is stays cloaked for, I think, a period of 2 seconds as well. That's the other obvious synergy with the Stillwind, and I think the one that more people prefer using. I mean, it is still a medium cabin, but it has higher mass tonnage acceleration, etc. As a result of being a medium cabin. And does, I think, probably work a little bit better for counter PvP purposes. Wherein, you know, even if you are invisible and taking your extra couple of seconds of invisibility while shooting to deal damage, if people try to pull you out of invisibility, they also don't have that option. So basically you're playing up trying to get the maximum use out of your invisibility, being able to take damage, being able to deal damage without it breaking. But at the same time, I feel like that'd be a little bit harder to argue is like specifically useful for the Stillwind, because you're only getting the 2 seconds where, again, if you're dealing damage or taking damage, you're probably going to, if you're doing one, you're probably doing the other anyway, unless you're against bots. Like, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of situations where you actually need to have both of those benefits going on at once. And again, it's just kind of playing around invisibility rather than using that as its strength. I like to think that the Ghost and Stillwind combo is quite powerful because it takes the Ghost rather meager benefit, which is like 15% damage or 25% damage bonus with the Mark II, 15% with the Mark I, and is actually able to extend that because, okay, well now not only do you have your 15-25% damage bonus for 5 seconds, but you're actually able to start firing before it ends, so you're able to start getting that, you know, another like 30-ish, 40-ish% damage bonus. I mean, obviously it's not going to be the full 15% as after when the invisibility ends. It's going to be the 13-14% as it continues coming up, but you're able to get that as well. So you're not only getting 5 seconds of 15% damage, you're also getting another 2-ish seconds of 15-13% damage. So you're basically extending the use of the Ghost Cabin significantly without actually, you know, requiring any change in situation, other than just remembering and timing to actually shoot your guns and to actually use your invisibility. So. It's also really, really hard to find another situation where the Ghost Cabin is useful, to be honest. So I will take any and all opportunities that I can to. And hey, even if you want to say, well, the Beholder is just outright better for the Stillwind in general, or how I specifically want to use it or whatnot, then by all means, at the very least, you know, there's still the point that the Ghost is extremely cheap, not only as a result of people disliking it to its mesh and its perk, and the ridiculous amount of people who buy the pack just for the cap can anyway, without the cabins. Oh, well, I lost my visibility. But I mean, it's a tier lower. So like, if you are having power score issues, or you know, you're looking for like first use case, it's pretty easy to just get invisibility and get the Ghost Cabin, and then add the Stillwinds later, and then at that point look at maybe upgrading to Beholder rather than going Beholder and then 2 Stillwinds. I'm not going to pretend that that's like my core argument against the Beholder in general. Just again, I don't really feel, and again, not that I'm somebody who uses the Beholder either, but just from what I've observed, I don't really feel like it's useful enough of a cabin alongside or synergizing well enough with the Stillwinds perk compared to this, especially because I don't have a Beholder, just because I don't really see the use of it. I think Clan Wars might have more use for it than anything. I know in PvE this is actually interesting because, as people have noted, bots don't, or at least didn't tend to really aggro you or care about you while you're invisible. I feel like that has changed somewhat recently, because it feels like if a bot has aggroed you but not shot at you yet and you go invisible, they'll still like kind of chase you throughout that invisibility, which obviously makes it a lot harder to find premise useful as a fuck off button. But in any case, if we take that statement at face value that the bots don't care about you while you're invisible, using the Beholder so that you know, stay invisible even while they're shooting at you, or if they happen to catch you with a bullet or something, you know, is great, because again, it prevents them from dealing damage, or rather, it prevents them from pulling you out of invisibility, causing you to take more damage potentially from additional enemies. Alright, so performance-wise, if we're just to take that as a, you know, microcosm of, a, you know, the one-off nature of it. I mean, got quite a few patches, but that's whatever. That's pretty much how it goes. Apparently better than everybody else, including a 19,000 and two 12,000s. Okay, I don't feel like they did that well as a build. So either I'm just bomb diggity at this game, or the statement of the average person is, in this case, paraphrase, but saying bad, and realize half of people are thus badder than that. I really don't feel like 2 Stillwinds and a Ghost Cabin should be first place, even in a normal raid. Especially because there are people running a legendary weapon set. I mean, the 19,000 had to have been running relics. I don't think you can get that high on power score with just legendary weapons. So that's hilarious, and this is definitely going to be fuel for, like, literally every other post ever of people saying this weapon or this blah 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 isn't viable in raids, because holy shit. Two Stillwinds outscoring relics is hilarious. But again, could just be a freak occurrence. But goddamn. Let's see, shall we go the full mile and see if we can perform likewise in a hard raid? I didn't really have a whole lot. You know what, let's do the Steel Cradle first, because that's easier and a much harder raid style in general. Well, mind you, this is just an easy raid, but should again hopefully be a lot easier to find people for that one. But like, I wasn't even doing a good job of keeping the damage bonus up here. Y'all are wild. Like, I still had to use the free respawn shortly after the second boss, just as you'd expect if like you were to die twice throughout the raid in the end. It wasn't performing crazy. This definitely isn't an OP build. It looks dumb as shit. Probably isn't going to do very good in multiplayer. I'm queued up, right? Yeah, okay. See, every time I question it, it just loads in. That's the secret, I guess. There we go. We've got a clan of people doing a build thing, or a mission. We're going as fast as possible is the name of the game, and being tanky to use. Okay, never mind. Well, I was gonna say, if I lose against multiple people with probably builds better for this, then I wouldn't be surprised if they outscore me, but neither of those builds look terribly optimized, TBH. Especially running a spider with a ribbon shotgun. This is certainly more so Steel Cradle experience. Enemies who refuse to give me any chance to recover all of this. fuck them up, Parser Spider. As is running 10 minutes. Who knows, maybe that's the secret. Maybe these people's builds will be the ones that are more powerful than the most work. Oh, come on. Well, I will say, pretty impressive that Parser Spider was able to solo the boss, even though it is just an easy still Cradle. So if we look at the results, yes, first place again, by a not insignificant margin, being twice as far ahead of the second place as the second place is ahead of the first place. Although, to be fair, that's a 6,000 power square build, but that dude's much higher. Although they're also running a build that moves like 45 kph, so. But they're also running Parsers, which everybody and their mom thinks is OP at the moment, so. I guess the real test will have to be the hard raid, which, again, I am going to be absolutely shocked if I don't die twice and have the rest of the team clutch up, because while the build might be able to, I guess, put out a disgusting amount of damage, I really don't think it's a build that's going to be able to survive hard raid enemies. We'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. Alright, what do we got, teammate? They're probably groaning because I'm only 8,000 power squints, just above the entry bar. A single Reaper and a single Hurricane. Well, we're fucked. So I guess the question isn't how good is this build compared to other hard raid vehicles, so much as is this build worse than literally running a, like, horrible combo? I don't even know what kind of maybe it's good, but maybe it's not. You're killing me here with the spread. Can't do my job. Sniping. This is what tap fire is for, right, ladies and gentlemen. Barely decreases your fire rate anyway compared to just holding the trigger. Kind of wild. I mean, it makes sense because the Stillwind is kind of the exception to the rule with I mean, it's designed literally being slow firing but higher damage per shot for similar damage per second. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's what everybody's thinking about. The like individual shot damage and the fact that it has a blast radius is just so good at stripping things that it doesn't really matter that like the overall DPS is meh, just because with 2 or 3 shots you've already disabled most of the enemy's build. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 was a little of a hyperbole, more like 10. But if you guys focus the dude with a high price range. Look at that, see? Fucked up your build like immediately while we're focusing on it. pretty sure they're gonna be coming from out there, because that seems to be where they come from and then get stuck for a while. There it is. I can certainly say, regardless of the quality of this build or in my personal play level, we definitely aren't setting any speeds for a heart rate, especially not one with two people. Wow, scorpions, that's gonna hurt. Please do focus the things. A lot more convenient. Homie definitely looked at me while I was still invisible after I started shooting him. I think there's some merit to the things that would have changed how they act as easily. And that's alright that this raid is going terribly bad. The question isn't, are Stillwinds OP as much as are Stillwinds good enough that they're still better than mix and matching random unsynergizing weapons, I guess. Which, I mean, is a really, really low bar to try and pass, depending on which weapons you're comparing, I suppose. But, I mean, the Reapers are very, 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 very good, and the Hurricane isn't absolutely terrible, at least as far as frontier defense raids are concerned, since it's based off of my prior experience with the silo. That's not good, that dude straight up quit. Alright. Well, guaranteed not to be as bad as they build that, I guess. Kind of makes it harder to compare validity of builds though when one person is probably. I guess in theory I could just suicide right now and compare. But I am also equally intrigued I have a feeling that I probably drastically outscored it. I'm also equally intrigued to find out how well this build performs solo in hard raid, since I have never had to solo a frontier defense on hard before. And this is the build that I have the least faith on being able to do that, so I guess we will learn together. Although the question remains, while matchmaking balancing will balance for the amount of people in the lobby, although even if they're dead, so in the case of if that dude didn't quit, it would balance it for 2-person, so because I believe they quit, it should be balancing it for 1 person, but do they even balance for 1 person? I kind of doubt it, but maybe. There is a possibility that this is still just a 2-person amount, so I guess we'll see. It's less shooting, please. Oh, that's not really good. Oh, that's rude. That's very rude. Yeah, it felt disgustingly easy for even a 2-person boss. So either the Stillwinds and or me are just incredibly, disgustingly, brokenly powerful, or it's balanced for 1 person. And I'm definitely okay with the latter option, which I'm suspecting is probably the case. Definitely the case. I really don't think I should be able to have a enemy of hard race wiped out with within a single hit of Stillwinds. Even with the turrets I think. I don't know, maybe the secret is just turrets are OP. And people are underutilizing them in all frontier defenses. I need a turret. I don't know, how good are the turrets really? If I just not attack, how well do they deal with things? Well, there's 1 kill out of like 4 per wave, 2 kills. Yeah, honestly, turrets kind of seem to be a little good. So maybe they just give them like a crazy damage boost through playing solo. Wouldn't be the worst way about falling, but it's probably a hell of a lot easier than balancing damage values, at least without people noticing and balancing like enemy damage or something. Probably a little less noticeable, but a little bit more complicated. Maybe just say, yeah, double damage of turrets when playing solo. Pretty easy to do that. Then you don't have to have people being like, oh my god, my guns are doing so much more damage now. I can see the numbers change from my guns so much. Oh, it's the Scorpion. Yeah, great. Well, at least I get a good comparison of how it was in the two-person versus one-person mode. Better if it doesn't shoot me though. Or it's not dead yet. Keep shooting me. Yeah, fuck, sick of this in the first place.
The enemy's retreating.
Let's see. Well, that's kind of a hard comparison to make, isn't it? Especially when they already dropped out. I'm definitely going to have to send Hades the screenshot, though. That is hilarious. And I must salt the wound if they quit for salty reasons that I soloed it. So let's see how much fuel I even have left. It should be, what, 20, 40, 60, 60. Should still be 80, right? Yeah, so let's try that again and see if we get teammates that stick around and or are crazy OP. And or disprove my hypothesis that Stillwinds are strong. I really don't think they're that good. I really don't. I don't think they're so grossly underrated that they're this hidden OP weapon. We're running them with a ghost cabin and not even a max level fucking chameleon is how you break the game. I am willing to suspend disbelief, but not that much. Actually, let's go crazy, shall we? Let's see just how broken our friend Stillwind can be. So much nicer if I put it down one, but can't do that on the side. Oh, you know what? This works so much better. Oh, except I can't fit the thing in there. Welp. I was kind of hoping I could fit the iron seal in that hook, but no dice it would seem. Be able to like that. Keep that sweet ass original shape. There we go. I mean, that kind of works, right? Could theoretically just put cooler, you know. there instead. But my concern is I kind of want to have the full 7 seconds of damage bonus when I'm firing, so. Like this. Yeah, it overheats before I can get all of it, so that ain't gonna work. Doesn't make sense to have the chameleon there anyway, since it's a lot more delicate than that. Not by, you know, a whole heck of a lot, but a bit nonetheless. Can even slap in some of these bad boys. So they're practically the only thing that fits in there anyway. And then where do we slap that iron seal? I am partial to eating it underneath. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. It's functionally 80 health. Unless they hit me with an explosive, which should be a non-issue against None's Children. My other option would be using this, which is 48, but I think this will be the better bet. Unless I get hit with fire and stuff. Well, there we go. That's both of these. Cool. Any other additions we can make to the build to make me even more OP? Something in this front area to armor above the wheel would probably be a good idea, but I just don't know what that would even look like. It's not really a whole heck of a lot of things that fit by a heck of a lot. I mean, like none, maybe. Oh, there we go. Good use of that. Yep. Presuming I can't just do that to it. Nope. Cool. So that works. And then can we just put this in flat? No. Okay. So that works. Can probably slap in some of not you. Maybe do things the hard way. Oh, unless they don't fit. Interesting. Wheels in your awkward sizes. Alright, well, this armoring looks like ass. Okay. Admittedly, that is not much better. Don't have any other 6x bumpers. You're 8. 4, you're 6 loader ability, 6 loader ability. 4, way too large, 6 loader ability. You are 6, aren't you? Yes. I definitely do not want a 6 loader. Kind of works. It doesn't. It kind of is. I think this is 8. Yep. 8. You're, oh, actually surprisingly high durability. I thought you were going to be like 40 or something. Don't fit though. It's not bad. It's not bad. I think it even has light up headlights. Beautiful. Just what we needed. Actually, I don't even know if that's more durability than the other part. Not significantly, the other part looks better, so. Great. Ugh, I hate just cramming a bunch of parts in like that without them really adding a whole lot. It's ugly as hell. It's barely functional. The ghost cabin's horrible hitbox strikes again. I really feel like I should be able to place it like that. So I have a feeling Ghostilocks is being mean. Indeed, indeed it is. What a jerk. There's no reason for you to even say no. There isn't anything physically protruding there. Well, I think unfortunately that is the best we're gonna get. Let's enter this bad boy. Try again. Guess I can even test. Well, nope, not anymore. I can't. It's because it does the damage that it does. Twirl not to be. Oh, hello. Already spawned. Oh, these cheaters getting a head start on me, trying to outscore me. It's a good sign. It just shows how desperate and afraid they are. The power of still.
Running for that one.
Well, that guy's using prices, so they're probably gonna be outscored.
I sent him back where he came from. Another notch on the bell. Well done. That's right.
Dude's running all the way up on it.
I think this one's coming back up. Wow! Get at him!
Of course, since I was using the Mark 1 computer, it ended up being these guys over them. Not used to having 8 seconds of invisibility before it does a tribute. More like It also raised the question, is the extra 10% DPS worth the additional 6 seconds of time you're not shooting every second? I guess if we time it intelligently and are already invisible before things show up, probably. So. I mean, it theoretically just mapped it out. Reality tends to get in the way of unfocused emotions. Yeah, 3-person bosses are definitely a hell of a lot higher than that person. Where are you going?
Keep it up, soldier.
dare you try and make these tweets harder?
I got him! I got him! Got him! Mark this one already.
Alright, what is the verdict? Not first place, doesn't surprise me, but I'm close to first place. Well, it's not bad, especially because I wasn't here in the beginning. I don't know. I'm not sure if the first capture is worth like 100 points. Because if so, then that would make a very, very, very small spread. I do not know. But I do feel like it's close enough that between the potential damage fall off of using the Chameleon Mk2 ineffectively and not being there for the first 4 turrets and wave and a half or whatever it is, it might actually be a pretty viable build for the power score that it is. Ah, a retribute. Well, there is a very, 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 very low, though non-zero, chance that I am going to score that. Hello, everything. Okay, well I did outscore them. And again, not insignificantly. Okay, well I have to take this into PvP now, because I really don't think I should be comparably effective or more effective than double retchers. Retchers are kind of like the king of the game, especially in PvE, so this doesn't quite check it. Alright, 2 a.m. PST peeps, show me what you got, and more importantly, show me what I got. Yes, quick question. Why is it we're in a 6,000 lots with 8,000s of people? Not a fan of that premise.
Enemy vehicles.
Yes, I suppose now my light show is working against me.
One of ours is down.
Well, I think I see the validity of earlier claims on the subreddit that multiplayer has turned into in-person plays. But to be fair, there are also difficulties. Is that a fucking breaker? Yo, what is he doing in 8500 bed? Cool truck though. Don't think it's so cool it's gonna win though. Especially with the generator being like semi-exposed like that. And when you run into breakers. Yeah. lobby. I don't suspect there'll be a fast change in people. The next few hours due to certainly not a fan of potentially fighting.
We're leaving, guys, but we will be back.
I think it's very literally the same lobby. I don't know, some of the people on my team. And there is 2 people missing, but each other is set up.
The base is not gonna capture itself. Would you please join the fight? They're coming! Lots of them! Another enemy destroyed. We're losing soldiers.
Oh, this is not going any better.
Someone needs their training wheels back.
Breaker thing.
Another notch on my barrel.
Well, it is a different lobby at least.
I've had enough sitting round. Let's roll. They're everywhere. That car won't budge. Another one bites the dust.
Very not good.
Well done. Keep up the good work. Protect the base, and it's not like that last time, okay?
I actually like that build one. I don't think I've seen one build like that before. Oh, that's it.
Protect the base, and not like the last time. Unbelievable. What could possibly have gone wrong?
Oh, these matches are all going like shit for my team. Multiple people not even getting more than like 2 or 3 parts per month. So, third match. So, I'll give it 2 more. I have a feeling as worthless as a statement that it is might only really be PvE viable. But that being said, again, if it's going to outscore dual Cyclones, that with weaponry, parsers, I mean, anyone out there who does like using it, it's good to know that he's still an at least useful thing. Not as disgusting as the second collapse, but let's see. If I go invisible, put the max damage bonus for this at about 20%, start firing. No, we're not. I can compare it to the Cyclone in any case.
Grab your guns, man. Big shells back gas. Here they are.
What do? Too much from over there, can you? Well, it's not really good. Oh. Statement still applies anyways. I'm not exactly able to get the damage boost from up here though.
Let's see him try it.
Basically just playing like whirlwinds at this stage. Whirlwinds that I'm really struggling to beat shots with. Alright, damage testing. So 1500 in 7 seconds. Womp womp. In the case, it was about 225 a second when it wasn't overheating.
The enemy is right ahead.
It's kind of... Definitely timed that code. Well, whatever PvP viability this build has, it is not in these patches. Though admittedly it looks like my teammates are fighting literally any degree of better than I'm.
Defend the base.
Well, at least it's not just parsers over and over like the subreddit said it would be. Oh, there's 12,000s in that lobby. Well, that kind of explains that. Well, I do think, though, that will conclude this stream with the conclusion that this build is surprisingly good in PvP, not unsurprisingly bad in surprisingly good in PvE, not surprisingly bad